Welcome back. Some parental defences in reaction to a teenager's negative behaviour are reciprocal, by which we mean that when one parent is confrontational and authoritarian, the other takes on a position of the peacemaker and pacifier. This can create a parental identity, such as a good cop, bad cop, that can lead to deeper conflicts between one parent and your teenager, and in turn affect your three-way relationship and couple relationship. To help you break free of these patterns, we'll cover in this session 1. How in times of stress our strengths can tip unhelpfully into a defensive space, and 2. An exercise to help you think about your go-to position when you're stressed and how you can move away from acting defensively. Liz White, a psychotherapist in Canada, developed an extraordinary model called Befriending Your Defences, which maps out the positive and negative elements of how we act defensively in ways that we believe will keep ourselves and others safe. Here's her model. Imagine a circle divided into 4 quadrants. If we go clockwise, we start with 4 strengths. The first upper right quadrant is the facilitator. This is the strength that means we are really good at organising, supporting and facilitating others. The next lower right quadrant is the challenger. This strength helps us support the underdog, to think about fairness and to speak out for those who don't have a voice, for example. The lower left quadrant is the wise observer. This strength helps us take a step back to reflect and see the bigger picture. The final upper left quadrant is the peacemaker. This is the strength that helps us care for others and to be compassionate and kind. Liz White invites us to consider how our roles in our personal and professional lives can be thought of as a strength. At times of stress, however, these positive positions can tip unhelpfully into a defensive space, particularly when we are stressed, anxious and worn down. The peacemaker can then tip into the accommodator, who does anything to keep the peace, even when it does not benefit them. The facilitator becomes the controller, micromanaging and feeling like they have to do everything to keep afloat. When the challenger, which is a positive assertive position, tips over, they can become the annihilator, ready for a fight and prepared to take anyone down who gets in their way. Finally, when the wise observer has had too much, they can give up altogether, becoming the cave dweller. This position is not the self-caring type of cave dweller, but rather someone who has become cynical and cut off. Liz White's model can help us recognise and reflect on what triggers tip us from our positive strength into our defensive position, and equally help us think about what we need to bring ourselves back. Looking at the model, it may be helpful to first consider your own parent's defensive style of parenting. Your father or mother may have been a challenger who wanted to examine your faults and differences, or they may have been a facilitator who gave you structures and confidence to make good decisions. Although these positions may be helpful, Liz's model points to a less benign aspect of each defence, such as the controller or the annihilator. These negative defensive qualities may be a frequent characteristic of a damaged adult whose past vulnerabilities may still be in a defensive state, or they may become activated by a given context or problem. Let's now do an exercise to help you think about your go-to position when you're stressed and how you can move away from acting defensively. You can do this either on your own or with your partner. Firstly, think about which strength position you occupy in your couple relationship and your family generally. All of us have many strengths, so you're likely to be a bit of each. Now have a think about what happens when you're stressed and hurt or angry. Which defensive position do you sometimes take up? Does your partner take a similar or a symmetrical position? For example, if one becomes the annihilator, does the other become the accommodator? Or one become the controller and the other cave dweller? Discuss with your partner how this may have played out in your recent past, and if you took opposing defensive positions. Agree to help yourself and each other kindly. Notice when the triggers are around. This won't be easy, as these defensive positions have been around for a long time and have helped to protect us. Over time, however, we hope you can start to become aware of how you can tip into something more helpful. In this session, we've considered how, in times of stress, our strengths can tip unhelpfully into a defensive space. And we've given you an exercise to help you think about how you can move away from this. In the next session, we'll be looking at teenagers' mood swings and some of the recent evidence-based practice around helping teenagers and parents to repair any breakdown in trust and cooperation. See you then.